Having understood George Lucas's views on form and content, which is presented by Terry Eagleton in its chapter Form and Content, wherein he talks about various views of different thinkers on form and content. He now comes up with Goldman's views. Now, Goldman was one more thinker who talks about form and content, the relationship between form and content, and he is well known for his genetic structuralism. Okay, let's try to understand what he talks about form and content with reference to his views on genetic structuralism. Now, he was a Romanian critic. Romania, you must be knowing. So, he was George Lucas's chief disciple. Disciple means student. Okay, just a minute. And he is described or termed as the neo-Hegelian. You see, the part of the neo-Hegelian school of Marxist criticism. There are different schools of Marxist criticism as well, and he has been uh, this part of the neo-Hegelian school of Marxist criticism, as he was George Lucas's chief disciple. So Goldman was a Romanian critic. He is concerned to examine the structure of a literary text. He examines the structure of a literary text. And what is the purpose behind this examination? He examines the structure of a literary text for the degree to which it embodies the structure of thought. The structure of a literary text embodies the structure of thought. Now you should understand the structure of a text can be equated with form, and the structure of thought can be equated with content or world vision. The structure of thought of the social class or group to which the writer belongs. And Goldman tries to examine this particular dialectical relation between the structure of a literary text, means how it embodies, how it gives shape to the structure of thought. So he tries to understand it in a very different manner, in a very close analysis. The more closely text approximates to a complete, coherent articulation of the social class or world vision, the greater is its validity as a work of art. That's what he thinks. The more closely the text approximates, approximate means to take into consideration approximately, tries to bring it in the appropriate manner to a complete, coherent articulation. It becomes a totality, a complete work as such. And this complete work is coherent as well. You must be familiar with the term coherence and cohesion with reference to Halliday. So coherence is related to the correlation between your ideas, meaning your thoughts, and that is presented by using language in a cohesive manner. Now he refers to this coherent articulation, a systematic, a very unified articulation of the social class world vision. And the closer he goes to that, the greater is its validity, he thinks. The greater is its validity as a work of art. A work of art should come up with this approximate and coherent articulation of the social class world vision. So he thinks that literary works are not in the first place to be seen as the creation of individuals. Literary works not simply this is perception. Now, these are Marxist thinkers. Marxist thinkers don't believe in individual property, etc. They don't believe in the individual ownership of anything. So here you can see that Goldman was of the opinion that the work of art is not the creation of individuals, but it is the trans-individual mental structures of a social group. It represents beyond individual. Trans means beyond. You might be knowing trans nation, etc. Beyond the borders of individual. Transnation beyond the borders of the nation. So by this he means the structure of ideas, values and aspirations that the group shares. A particular group of people shares the structure of ideas, values and aspirations. That's what he says. And the writer takes ideas from these shared, ideas itself. The writer creates the work of art from this shared structure. Great writers, according to Goldman, are those exceptional individuals who manage to transpose into art the world vision of the class. According to Goldman, who is the follower of Lukács, the Marxist thinker. So he thinks that great writers are the exceptional individuals, extraordinary, and they manage to transpose, into art, bring into art. Transpose means to bring something into that. What do they bring into art? The world vision of the class or group to which they belong. They represent their class or group, and the structure of thought or world vision of that particular class or group is brought into the work of art by great writers. And for this, to do this in a particularly unified and transient, okay, they actually try to bring to do this in a very particularly unified and transient, not conscious, means not deliberately. Uh, Means unconsciously they do it, but still they represent the class or group they belong to. Further, he talks about genetic structuralism. Now, you are familiar with the term genetic. Now, we say, no, this is a genetic problem. Means the problem is inherited from your forefathers, from your family, etc. So, Goldman terms his critical method, whatever ideas he presented just now, the correlation between the structure of the work and the structure of thought of the world vision, and we understood that the great writer is the exceptional individual who brings the world vision of the society of the group that he belongs into the work of art. So he refers this particular method of examining the work of art as genetic structuralism, and it is really important to understand these two terms: what is structuralism and what is genetic. He terms his method as structuralism. And there is a reason behind it, because he is less interested in the contents of a particular world vision than in the structure of categories it displays. He is more interested in what? In the structure of categories, the work of art, the world vision displays. Therefore, he calls means just like structuralist. He is interested in the structure of categories. You remember now, Foucault, the way he understands narrative as in terms of the sentence structure or clause structure. So in the same manner, he talks about the noun and the verb. Means he understand the categories of elements of sentence. In the same manner, Goldman is interested in these particular categories, structure of categories. So what he thinks, suppose two different writers are there who are apparently means as soon as we see, we realize that they are two different writers. These two apparently different writers thus be shown to belong to the same collective mental structure. Although they they are different writers, after studying their works, we can understand that they represent the same collective mental structure or they belong to the same shared ideas means their books or their works come up with shared ideas values etc of the group they represent. And he uses another term genetic he uses because Goldman is concerned with how much mental structures are historically produced. I told you means by genetic we understand how things are inherited historically here, how mental structures are historically produced. Means what we understand by this, we understand the relations between the world vision and the historical conditions which give rise to it. The world vision, the structure of thought, is an outcome of the historical conditions from which it arises. Therefore, he calls this his method as genetic structuralism. Firstly, he is interested in studying the category structure of categories, and secondly, he wants to know how it arises from the historical conditions. So this is how Goldman, talks about his genetic structuralism, and he comes up with his analysis of the work of no work on Racine. Racine was the French writer, the French dramatist. So Goldman's work on Racine, The Hidden God, it is the book by Goldman, which was published in the year 1964. And this work is the most exemplary model of his genetic structuralism, his critical method. In this particular work, he sees, he discerns. To discern means to see keenly. In Racine drama, a certain recurrent structure of categories. He is more interested in the recurrent structure of categories of that worldview. So what he sees in this particular works by Racine drama is a metonymy, you might be knowing. So he just sees that Racine uses the certain structure of categories like God, world, man, and these categories alter in their content and interrelations from play to play. They change in their content and even in their interrelations from one play to another play. Eight, this particular structure of categories, as seen in Racine drama, disclose a particular world vision. That's what he thinks. Now, in it is the world vision of men. What is this world vision? It is the world vision of men who are lost in a valueless world. Okay, means he talks about God, world, man. Then he says the world vision of Racine displays men who are lost in a valueless world accept this world as the only one because God is absent. Means they think that this is the only one world, this valueless world, and yet continue to protest against it. They accept this valueless world. At the same time, they protest against. Means they accept it, still they protest against it. So this is something very interesting that you need to realize. Many times in our lives as well, we come across such scenarios. We realize the valuelessness. Still, we have to accept and again protest. This is how life goes on. Now they protest against this to justify themselves in the name of some absolute value. These men protest because they want to justify, they want to defend themselves, because they want to you know fight for some value which is always hidden from view, which is not seen. In every piece of work you come across this kind of recurrent thing. Okay, so this is how we understand Goldman's genetic structuralism. In the next lecture, we shall be talking about Jansenism, which is the French religious movement, with reference to Goldman's ideas, Goldman's method, critical method.